Good evening and welcome to PoliticIt podcast. We're excited today because we have Kimberly Fletcher with us, and you're the founder and president of Moms for America.
Yes.
What a great organization. Let's talk first about what is Moms for America.
Well, we are a national movement of moms, over 500,000 moms across the country.
500,000.
All 50 states, yeah. Reclaiming our culture for truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution. And our threefold mission is to empower moms, promote liberty, and raise patriots. So that's going to be a good thing, right?
That's a marvelous thing. And I like that you use truth.
Yeah.
Because, I've heard faith used, and truth is faith-based, right? Why did you choose truth?
Truth has become seriously under attack these days, and God is the source of all truth. So when you talk about faith and you talk about truth, there are a lot of faiths out there, personal held beliefs that aren't necessarily true. And so God is the source of all truth. And there's a great quote by Orson Welles that says, in times of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. And right now, I'm telling moms all the time, you need to be reading The Emperor's New Clothes to your kids multiple times a week, because the emperor's naked and they need to be able to identify when the emperor's naked and be able to stand up and have the courage to say so. And that's really what we moms are doing, is saying, listen, let's focus on truth. There is a undeniable truth of things, and there is no relative truth. It's not just about what you think is true and what I think is true. There is a substantive, relative, foundational truth to all things. And right now they're trying, whoever they are working hard to deceive the American people, children especially, even on their own identity. And we're not only having a identity crisis with our children, we're having a national identity crisis as to who we are. And the truth is, we're the greatest, freest, most prosperous nation on earth, and I want to keep it that way. Yeah,
truth and falsehood, that's a binary.
It's
either true or it's not true.
That's right.
Right? And this whole concept of non-binary is kind of weird, right? Because it says, no, it's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like you're in the cloud of darkness, right?
Yeah.
And you've left the truth.
Thing. You remember that quote about the fence? You're either on the right or your left, or the right or the wrong. If you sit in the middle, sit on the fence, I will spew you out. I mean, it's right in the Bible.
Right.
So we need to pick a side, and I picked the side of truth.
Right. Well, and if you think about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, I mean, government was instituted among men to protect those God-given rights.
Right.
Right. And those are objective truth. And it's interesting how, societal pressures have moved us. I hate when I listen to things that we have this. People sometimes use soft words for dark deeds.
Well, they're very good at messaging. I will say the devil is very good at messaging, and whoever gave him the messaging tips, we should probably learn from those. But I mean, if you can take something like killing a baby and turn it into a woman's right to choose, or medical freedom, or health care, or whatever, that's like saying that slavery was human resources. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It's not right. And in fact,
I had a situation a week ago where I put something on Facebook and I said this is pro-abortion. And a lady got very offended, said, no, that's pro-choice.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, and I said, well, you can call it what you want, but in the end, someone dies.
That's right.
Right.
That's absolutely right. So we did, I was speaking at an event last year, and it was moms and their young high school age daughters. And I was talking about what's happening in the schools and the agendas and where it's coming from. And I said, well, that largely comes from the radical agendas of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer community. And one of the moms said, what's that? And I said, well, have you heard of LGBTQ? Oh yeah, that. And I'm like, that's what that is. And her daughter's like, that's what that stands for? And I'm like, yeah. So when I talk, when I post things, when we do articles, I spell it all out. I've had to practice in the card because It's a mouthful. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer. And I had people who were on the left who were commenting on my post saying, that's offensive. It's offensive for me to use the words behind the letters. And that's the thing. We need to stop adopting their language and their messaging, and we need to start calling things out for what they are. I mean, they've tried to label everybody under this MAGA category, and they spew it out like it's a 4-letter word. And I'm like, okay, well, let's say what it is, because Make America Great Again is a lot harder to spew out than MAGA.
Well, and the whole movement behind it, when you say America first, I mean, all that means is that our primary responsibility is the health and
citizens.
Is the health and welfare of American citizens, right?
Right.
I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the problem, is that the messaging gets in the way of the truth.
Mm-hmm. And it's the flag and the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and the national anthem. All of those things have now been thrust underneath this bad thing, and you're racist and you're homophobic and you're whatever if you pledge the flag or carry a Bible. And that's not truth. That's not truth. The fact of the matter is, this is exactly what the communists do when they come in and take over a country. It's what they did in Russia. It's what they did in China. It's what they did in Hungary and Romania and any of these countries that they came in and took over. They took away the identity of the nation. They took away freedom. There's no God in communism. There's no individual anything. There's no family. There's no freedom. The state owns everything, and you have this small little group of people who are running the state who get everything. And people don't understand that. They think it's this utopian world of everybody gets to be happy and everybody gets to be have a free education and free health care. And I mean, nobody wants anybody to be sick. But when you talk about the principle behind it, then you realize that it's actually not just thievery, it's slavery when the communist mentality comes in and tries to take over a country. And that's what they're doing in our schools. And that's the reason why it's truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution. We want people to understand that Constitution protects our divine inherent rights that come from God, not the government. And therefore, we need to stand by that Constitution and defend and protect it.
Well, and liberty is an individual thing, right?
It is.
It all goes down to our choices.
Yeah.
Right?
Live your own American dream.
Right. One of the things I think people mistake in the liberty argument is ultimate liberty comes from following God. Mm-hmm. Period.
That's it.
Right? And so, yeah, it's an interesting discussion. We're going to take a break, and we'll come right back.
Okay.
America is under attack. Our families are being crushed under the politics of a radical agenda. But moms have had enough. We are standing up and we are fighting back.
This is our battle. This battle is every bit as important as the Revolutionary War because we fight for the same thing.
Moms for America is a national movement of moms reclaiming our culture for truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution.
I think Moms for America is exactly on track and is doing the right thing for the future of our country and our children.
Like, Moms for America is going at the heart of the issue.
I want to go on the record and say I'm for moms, I'm for America, and I'm especially for Moms for America.
But I am honored to join Moms for America today as we speak out against the horrific mandates.
With a national network of over 500,000 mothers, Moms for America is one of the fastest growing movements of women in the country.
Well, the most dangerous place in all of nature is between a mama bear and her baby cub.
We are the change. No matter what, no matter where, and no matter how difficult the obstacles are that are facing us and our families, we will not give up and we will not give in.
So if not now, then when? If not you, then who?
Welcome to the Momland Revolution.
Welcome back to PoliticIt. We're here with Kimberly Fletcher, Moms for America. Now, during the break, you talked about the Declaration of Mothers, right?
Yeah. So as we were talking about truth and this idea of, God is the source of all truth, there's certain truths that we thought were just obvious. So we wrote this declaration in 2017, and we spent a lot of time on it. And at the beginning, we wanted to talk about our freedoms and constitutional principles and that kind of thing. But as we prayed and pondered and we were working on this, it really took a whole new kind of turn. And we definitely talk about freedom and constitution, but it was common sense, of course, things that we were writing that everybody would just know, And now looking back, it's this was earth-shattering at the time. We didn't realize that it was going to be this earth-shattering move, but God knew where our society was going, and he knew how important it was that we took a stand. So I'm just going to briefly go over the first couple of paragraphs. It's a Declaration of Mothers, a proclamation and a pledge for the preservation of liberty and virtue. And it starts out as mothers and the primary makers of the homes of America and molders of the future of our nation. We declare that the liberty and freedom of all people begin in the home, and that a nation is but a magnified home. We recognize this. Here's the real earth-shattering part. We recognize the sacred role of mother as the heart of the home and home as the heart of society. The liberty of each individual begins in the home, and parents are first and foremost the primary teachers and protectors of their children in a free society. Properly constructed social, religious, and governmental institutions are designed to support and strengthen the family unit, not regulate or replace it. No association or government organization can replace the family, no matter how well-intentioned or well-organized it may be. And then it goes on to talk about some of the principles of freedom and liberty that we promote. And the interesting thing is, in 2018, this was introduced into the congressional record. So you have people who are trying to erase women, completely redefine what a mother is, and moms are in the declaration, in the congressional record, and you can't take that away. So we have a
that's so powerful. I talked to you a little bit about Kimberly Ells, who's a friend of mine, right? She wrote the book about mothers and that divine calling, right? And the idea of how much power there really is in the home, right? For good, for promoting our society.
Yeah, well, and we're building nations. We're a nation rises and falls on wherever that mother stands. And there's a great story about Ireland and how Ireland was so instrumental in holding on the light of Christianity throughout the Dark Ages. And it was because of St. Patrick. So if you know the story of St. Patrick, he went to Ireland. He was kidnapped and taken to Ireland as a slave when he was a young boy, a teenager. And he was there for, I believe, 8 years, and he was able to escape through divine providence. And he then moved on to religious fronts and started to work in. He wanted to become a priest, and so he did. And one day he was walking along, and God called him to go to Ireland. And now think about that. He was in Ireland for 8 years as a slave, slobbing pigs and eating leftovers and from the pigs. And the thought of going back there, but he could not escape it. And he said in his own autobiography, that his confession, that it came down to, okay, this is obviously a call from God. Either I accept it or I don't. That's it. I'm either going to follow God or I'm not. And so, of course, he followed the Lord. But because of his experience, because of his time there, and his great humility, when he went with a much different idea. Every religious leader that had gone over to Ireland prior to that had gone to hang out with the tribal leaders and the warlords and convert a pagan nation. As he stood on the boat going over, he said, I am going over to serve a people. And when he got there, he didn't hang out with the warlords and tribal leaders. He hung out with the mothers, where they cooked their food, where they washed their clothes, and he taught them. And what he taught them pierced their hearts and became so much a part of who they were and what they believed and who they became, that they carried that on with their children. And for generations through the Dark Ages, Ireland was the light of faith and hope in Christ. And it's a remarkable story of the powerful influence of mothers. And that's the power that we have right now in our own nations here in the United States. Whatever we want the future to look like, we're determining it right now in our own homes. And even women, when they walk into the workplace, women have such a presence when they enter a room or when they enter any kind of situation. If a woman, for instance, walks into an office and she takes the job, walks into the office, and she walks in scantily dressed and cussing like a sailor, the whole entire office is going to go to that level. But if she comes in poised, dressed respectfully, and carrying respectful language, those men in that room are going to lift to that. And then they're gonna revert to their little cussing habits, but they'll apologize every single time. And they will treat that woman with respect. And that's the reason why when you look through history, and you see the women who were in the prostitute industry, they didn't look at them as women and respect them. And that's a travesty. Those women should not have been in that position. But if whatever the woman becomes, whatever standard she sets, that is the standard to which society elevates. And we have a whole entire nation of women, radical, feminist, mostly deceived, but very radically loud women who are destroying this country. Because they, believe it or not, the feminist organizations are erasing women. A women's organization erasing women. Women don't exist. Men can play in women's sports. Men can replace women. Men can birth babies and nurse babies. No, they can't. And women, mothers, they're not birthing people and chest feeders. They're mothers. And that is a powerful word. And it has been through eons of time. And George Washington and even Napoleon Bonaparte, Abraham Lincoln, all of these great leaders, the Spartan leaders, knew the powerful influence of mothers. And that is why those who are trying to destroy this country are working very hard to deceive, discredit, and distract us from the role where we have the greatest influence and contribute the greatest act of patriotism to our country, and that is mother.
Wow. I got chills. No, that's powerful. That's powerful. Let's go back just a little bit, because I want to learn more about what was your motivation, because you're the founder of this group, right? So Moms for America. What was your inspiration that led you to founding this organization and getting together? Tell me again, how many members of this?
Over 500,000 across the country.
Over 500,000 women are involved. Well, I guess members, right? So
yeah, we have moms all over the country who are engaged in this movement. It's a national network, very powerful network, and they're getting involved. I tell them all the time, if all you do is promote a love of liberty in your home and go vote those values when in an election, we win. Because you can't just win on politics. You can't just win in elections. You win through the culture, because culture determines politics and elections. And if you have a whole entire nation of people who don't understand what America's about or why it's worth fighting for, elections are not going to go well. And that's the direction we're heading. And that is the purpose. They want to destroy America. So that really was I don't call it my inspiration. It's more of my wake up moment, kind of like God smacking you on the head. It was 9/11. My husband was stationed at the Pentagon on 9/11, and through a series of God-given miracles, he came home safe that day, and it changed me. That was the day where I realized the price of freedom, up close and personal, and I committed to paying the cost. And that was the day I went from being patriotic to being a patriot. And now we're just trying to convince people to be patriotic, to realize that patriotism isn't about a land, a country, or it is about an ideal, freedom and equality and equal justice and the flag and the national anthem. All of those things represent those God-given values that have been the wellspring of freedom that the whole entire world looks to. And for 3 years after that experience on 9/11, I engrossed myself in everything I could possibly get my hands on America's history and heritage, and realized that I didn't learn what I should have learned in school. You'd think that they'd be teaching that. I don't ever remember hearing the word Constitution the whole entire time I was going to school, until it was introduced to me by my mom in a junior in high school when I was defending my own rights to read my Bible in school during lunch break. So, I mean, the power of the Constitution, the power of the principles of liberty that our nation was established on is incredible. And the whole world looks to it. And if it falls here, it lives nowhere. And that's the reason why I am absolutely committed to preserving the light of liberty, the foundational principles that our founding families gave so much, sacrificed so much for, and died for, so that we can have this free society where we can worship as we want, where we can live our American dream, where we can teach, nurture, and protect our children. And all those organizations are there to support us, not replace us.
Wow. So tell me, what can we do locally?
Oh, that's the best part. You know, for 2 decades, I tried to convince moms that everything is local and what's happening in their schools. And they looked at me like a helicopter parent with a tinfoil hat. 2020 was the greatest gift from God. It was like showing this big spotlight on all the evil. And it was always there. If you watched Lord of the Rings, the orcs were always underneath the ground during their darkness and awful things. The ground splits open and they all come out. And that's kind of what happened in 2020. They were always there, underground, behind closed doors in classrooms, and insidiously hiding in different places that our children are being exposed to, and they've been building this nation of government zombies who buy into these anti-God, anti-family, anti-freedom ideas, and we want to put them back. So now everybody knows that it is about local. There's nothing more local than home and family, and the very next thing is your school district, your own community. What we can do, oh my goodness, there's so much we can do. Start by knowing what your rights are. We have a program called the Cottage Meeting Project. It's like Tupperware for Liberty, and you learn the principles of liberty in simple discussion groups. You can do it in home, online. It's a great opportunity to get the true story of America, what your rights are, where they come from, how to effectively exercise them. And it's a game changer. It's life changing. Honestly, we're changing hearts and minds through that program. I always say start there. And then your passion will ignite and God will direct you where you should go. Share that love of liberty with your children. Get involved in your community in promoting and advancing those principles of freedom. How do you do that? You need to attend your local community meetings. You don't have to go personally every time, but get a group of your friends together and each one of you take a turn. Attend that city council meeting or county supervisor meeting. Attend that school board meeting. And then come back and report to everybody. And when you need the mom mob, you call them up. What's the mom mob? It's just letting moms know we all need to show up for this one. And when you can, you do. And be the light where you are. That's the most important thing. People are going to gravitate to light and they will repel the darkness. You cannot fight darkness with darkness. You have to be the light. And that is how you can turn a community around.
Wow. Thank you. Moms for America, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys next week.